Rosa Martinez, the night administrator, wheels Jessica through the quiet corridors of St. Gabriel's Haven. Jessica Hayes, 68. Her eyes, deep blue like faded denim, hold a quiet dignity despite the circumstances. "Your daughter-in-law mentioned your stroke was about 2 years ago?" Rosa asks. Jessica's hands twist in her lap. 2 years and 3 months, April 17th. "And you've been living with her since then?" "Yes. After David, my son, after he passed." Rosa nods. "I understand. Well, we have a lovely community here. The East Wing is for our senior residents, and the West Wing houses our rescue shelter. Some residents find the dogs very therapeutic." Jessica doesn't respond. Through the windows dividing the wings, she catches glimpses of shadowy kennels. "Your daughter-in-law mentioned this is temporary? Until she can manage her situation?" "Yes, just a few weeks," Jessica says. "Chloe, my granddaughter, she's starting college tours, and Liam has his baseball championship. It's a busy time." Rosa's eyes flicker with something, doubt, perhaps, but she smiles professionally. "Of course, we usually ask for a minimum 3-month placement for residents to settle in, but exceptions can be made. 3 months. The words land like stones in Jessica's stomach. Karen had said weeks. The room they stop at is small but clean. A single bed with a blue coverlet, a nightstand with a lamp, a narrow window overlooking the back garden, a television mounted on the wall, a private bathroom with grab bars beside the toilet. Practical, institutional. Nothing like home. "I'll help you get settled," Rosa says. "I can do it," Jessica insists. Pride, her last possession. "Breakfast is at 7. The call button is by your bed if you need anything. Sleep well, Mrs. Hayes." When the door closes, Jessica sits in silence for several long minutes. With effort, she opens the suitcase. On top lies a framed photograph. Jessica, younger and standing, beside a tall man in a police department blazer, David, her son, his arm around her shoulders, both smiling broadly. She traces his face with a trembling finger. "I'm sorry, David," she whispers. "I've become a burden after all." 2 years earlier, Jessica Hayes stood in her bakery, Honeycomb, arranging fresh scones in the display case. Regulars chatted at corner tables, newspapers rustling, coffee cups steaming. The bell above the door chimed as David entered, tall like his father had been. "Mom," he greeted, "made any of those cinnamon rolls?" "The guys at the station have been asking." 2 dozen, boxed and ready," she said. "Are you sure the police department isn't getting too comfortable with these deliveries?" David laughed. "Crime solving requires sustenance. It's practically official business." David worked as an administrator for the police department, handling budgets and paperwork. He'd never wanted the danger of patrol work, especially after his father's heart attack left Jessica a widow when David was just 16. He'd chosen security, routine, and being there for his mother. "How's Karen? The kids?" Jessica asked. "Good. Busy. Chloe's 14 going on 30, all about the dance team and social media. Liam's playing Little League now. And Karen's firm is handling a big corporate merger, so she's working long hours. You should bring them on Sunday. I'll make a pot roast." "That would be great, Mom." He checked his watch. "I should get going. Morning briefings in 20 minutes. The memory speeds forward. Later that same day, a sharp pain shooting through Jessica's skull as she reached for a mixing bowl, the floor tilting beneath her feet, the crash of metal bowls. Darkness, hospital ceiling tiles, beeping monitors, David's worried face. The neurologist's careful explanation, ischemic stroke affecting the left hemisphere, the words moderate motor impairment and partial paralysis, and rehabilitation potential. The right side of her body betrayed. Her leg refusing commands, her arm weak, her fingers clumsy. The indignity of being helped to the bathroom, the frustration of dropped cups and spilled food. Her bakery, sold to pay medical bills. Her apartment above it, vacated. Her independence, gone. "You'll stay with us," David had insisted. "We have the guest room downstairs. I'll install ramps." Karen's tight smile. "Of course. Family takes care of family." Jessica blinks back to the present, to the small room at St. Gabriel's Haven. She remembers the early days at David and Karen's house. The converted office on the first floor became her bedroom. The wheelchair arrived. Physical therapy exercises that left her exhausted and discouraged. Karen's gradual shift from polite accommodation to thinly veiled resentment. The sighs when Jessica needed help bathing. The exchanges of looks between Karen and the children when Jessica dropped something or spoke too slowly. The whispered arguments between Karen and David late at night when they thought she couldn't hear. "How long, David?" The therapist said she might never walk normally again. "She's my mother, Karen. We can't afford a nurse. The kids need college funds. I need to work. You need to work. I didn't sign up to be a full-time caregiver." Neither did she sign up for a stroke. Then came the rainy October night. The police chaplain at the door. Karen collapses against the wall. The words, "car accident," and "died instantly," and "no suffering." David was gone. The funeral passed in a fog. Jessica wheeled to the graveside, unable to stand and throw dirt on her only child's coffin. The irony was lost on her. David had avoided dangerous police work only to die in a mundane traffic accident. The months after were worse. Without David as buffer, the household atmosphere grew glacial. Karen worked longer hours. The children retreated to friends' houses. Jessica became a ghost in her own life, wheeling herself from bedroom to living room and back, trying to be invisible, trying not to need. She discovered dog videos online. Service dogs helping people with disabilities, rescue dogs finding homes, old dogs living out their days with dignity. She watched for hours, finding comfort in these simple stories of loyalty and connection. 6 months after David's death, Karen had come home with a brochure. "I've found a solution," she said. "St. Gabriel's Haven. It's a charitable care facility. They have nurses, activities, other people your age, and they even have therapy dogs." Jessica stared at the glossy trifold. An institutional building with gardens. Smiling seniors in a common room. "A nursing home," Jessica said flatly. "A specialized care community," Karen corrected. "I see." Jessica's voice was quiet. "And the cost?" "That's the thing." Karen leaned forward. "It's a charity facility. They accept residents based on need, not ability to pay. Your Social Security and a small monthly contribution would cover it. My house," Jessica began, "is still in your name." Karen finished. "But we could discuss that. Maybe a reverse mortgage to help with expenses." The house in question was Jessica's childhood home, where she'd grown up and later raised David after his father died. She'd rented it out when she moved above the bakery. The rental income had supplemented her bakery earnings, and now it was all she had left. "I don't want to be a burden," Jessica finally said. "It's not about burden, Jessica. It's about what's best for everyone. You'd have professional care. We could go back to being family instead of this. Just think about it," Karen said, patting Jessica's hand before rising. No rush. But there had been a rush, as it turned out. Within 2 weeks, Karen had arranged everything. The paperwork, the intake interview, the move. "Just until things settled down," Karen assured as they drove to St. Gabriel's Haven. In the back seat, Chloe and Liam sat in unusual silence, gazing out the windows. "Grandma," Chloe said suddenly, "I'll call you every day, I promise." Jessica reached back to squeeze her hand. "I'd like that, sweetheart," Liam mumbled. "I'll make a video of my championship game, if you want." "I'd love that," Jessica said. They pulled into the parking lot of St. Gabriel's Haven, the same scene replaying now in Jessica's memory as she sits by the window in her new room. The administrative building with its wide porch, the wheelchair ramp. Rosa greeted them at the entrance, clipboard in hand. The tour of the facility, the common rooms, the dining hall, the garden paths designed for wheelchair accessibility, the glass wall separating the senior wing from the dog rescue wing. Karen nodded approvingly, signing forms, shaking hands with staff. And then the moment of leaving. Chloe's fierce hug. "I'll call tomorrow, Grandma." Liam's awkward pat on her shoulder. "Take care." Karen's businessman-like efficiency. "You have everything you need? Your medications? I've left our contact information with the front desk." "I'll be fine," Jessica had said. "We'll come visit next weekend," Karen promised, already backing toward the door. Now, in her new room, Jessica prepares for her first night at St. Gabriel's Haven. She manages to transfer herself from wheelchair to bed, a skill hard won through months of practice. She changes into her nightgown, brushes her teeth, takes her evening medications. Each movement deliberate, preserving what independence remains to her. Karen has no intention of bringing her home in a few weeks. The 3-month minimum stay the administrator mentioned was no surprise to Karen. It was part of the plan. The talk of her house, of a reverse mortgage, those were not casual suggestions but calculated steps. She has been discarded, set aside like furniture too worn to display but too valuable to throw away. A tear slides from the corner of her eye, tracking a path to her pillow. She doesn't bother to wipe it away. Another follows, and another. Through the wall, distantly, she hears a dog barking. In her darkened room, Jessica closes her eyes and surrenders to exhaustion. Meanwhile, in the last kennel of the dog wing, Chief finally settles on his bed. His ears remain pricked, his body tense, as if listening for something only he can hear. The next morning, Jessica awakens to unfamiliar sounds, muffled voices in the corridor, the squeak of a meal cart, the distant bark of dogs. "Good morning, Mrs. Hayes. How did you sleep? I'm Jenny, one of the morning aides. Breakfast today is oatmeal with berries, toast, and coffee. Do you need help with anything? I can manage, thank you," she says, pulling herself to a sitting position. "Great. After breakfast, we have chair yoga in the common room at 9, or if you'd prefer, there's a reading group in the library. Dr. Morris will be by later this morning to review your medications." When the door closes, Jessica exhales. The oatmeal is thin, the coffee weak. She eats mechanically, not tasting anything. After breakfast, she maneuvers into her wheelchair and ventures into the corridor to the central common room, where about a dozen residents are gathered. Some watch a morning news program on a large television. Others sit in small groups conversing quietly. A tall, distinguished-looking man with a cane notices her hesitation at the threshold. He approaches with measured steps. "New arrival?" he asks. Jessica nods. "Walter Whitaker," he introduces himself. "Former high school principal, current institutionalized elderly. And you are?" "Jessica Hayes, former bakery owner, current," she falters. "Discard?" he suggests with surprising gentleness beneath the sarcasm. Jessica blinks at him. "Forgive me," he says. "Bitter old man syndrome. Terminal case, but accurate, I find. Most of us here share similar stories. Mine involves a son who took a job in Singapore and found it easier to deposit me here than deal with international elder care." He gestures around the men room. "Welcome to the island of misfit grandparents. Walter, stop terrorizing the newcomer." An Indian woman in an elegant sari approaches, smiling warmly at Jessica. "I am Devi Patel, retired nurse. Please ignore Walter's dramatics. He was a wonderful principal, but makes a terrible welcoming committee. Honesty is my policy." "Devi," Walter sniffs. "Kindness should be everyone's policy," Devi counters. To Jessica, she adds, "Come, let me introduce you to some less grumpy residents." Jessica allows herself to be guided into the room, meeting a procession of names and faces. Lila Green, a widow who immediately offers to knit her a scarf. Thomas Chen, who proudly shows photos of grandchildren he hasn't seen in person for 3 years. Mabel Washington, who speaks so softly Jessica has to lean forward to hear her. They are kind, these strangers, but their eyes hold the same knowledge. They understand what it means to be here, to be left. After the social hour, Jessica excuses herself. She wheels herself down the corridor, exploring her new environment. She discovers the small library, the crafts room, and the dining hall being prepared for lunch. And eventually, she reaches the glass wall separating the senior wing from the dog rescue wing. She stops, watching the activity on the other side. Volunteers in blue smocks move between kennels. "That's Ethan," a voice says beside her. Jessica turns to find Rosa, the administrator, watching the young man with the terrier. He coordinates our human-animal therapy sessions. "Would you be interested in participating?" Many residents find it very beneficial. "Perhaps," Jessica says. "Dogs are excellent listeners," Rosa continues. "They don't judge, don't interrupt, Don't get impatient. Some residents who won't speak much to people will talk for hours to a therapy dog. Jessica's gaze travels down the row of visible kennels. Most contain medium-sized, friendly-looking dogs. But at the far end, a large enclosure stands apart from the others. The occupant isn't visible from her angle. "What about that one?" she asks, pointing. Rosa's expression shifts subtly. "That's Chief. He's special case. A retired police K-9. Not part of the therapy program. Why not? He's had some trauma, behavioral issues. He's not safe for interaction." As if on cue, a volunteer approaches the distant kennel with a long-handled feeding tool, a pole with a tray attached to the end. Even through the glass, Jessica hears the deep, threatening growl that follows. The volunteer quickly deposits the food and retreats. "See what I mean?" Rosa says. "We keep trying with him, but," she shakes her head. "Anyway, would you like to meet some of our friendly therapy dogs later?" Jessica doesn't answer immediately. Her eyes remain on the distant kennel where Chief's large shadow moves behind the bars. "Mrs. Hayes?" "Yes," Jessica says finally, turning away. "Perhaps tomorrow." That afternoon, Karen calls. Jessica's cell phone rings just as she's returning to her room after lunch. "Jessica, how are you settling in?" "Fine," Jessica answers. "Is everyone treating you well?" "Yes, everyone is very kind." A pause. "The kids are sorry they couldn't come to the phone. Chloe has dance practice, and Liam is at baseball." "Of course," Jessica says, wondering if this is true. "I've been thinking about what we discussed. About your house?" Karen continues. "I spoke to a financial advisor. A reverse mortgage would give you additional income for your care. I have some paperwork I can bring by next week." The casual mention of next week confirms what Jessica already knew. There is no plan for her return after a few weeks. "I'd like to think about it more." Of course, Karen says. "No rush." Although, the advisor mentioned that the sooner we get the process started, the better terms you might receive. "I understand," Jessica says, though what she understands is not what Karen thinks. "Great. Well, I should let you go. I'm sure you have activities, or whatever they have scheduled. We'll try to visit this weekend if the kids' schedules allow." "That would be nice," Jessica says. "Take care." Jessica. "Goodbye, Karen." The call ends. Jessica sits by the window, phone in her lap, staring at nothing. The house Karen is so eager to leverage is the last tangible connection to Jessica's past. The home where she raised David, where holidays were celebrated, where memories reside in every corner. For the first time since her stroke, since David's death, a feeling other than grief or resignation flares within her. Anger. A spark of it, small but hot. Days pass, a week, then another. Jessica establishes a routine at St. Gabriel's Haven. Breakfast at 7. Morning activities, sometimes chair yoga with Devi, sometimes the reading group with Walter. Lunch at noon. Afternoons spent in the library or watching through the glass wall as volunteers work with the rescue dogs. Dinner at 5. Evenings in the common room for television or in her room with a book. She speaks when spoken to. She participates when invited. She takes her medications, attends physical therapy sessions, answers the doctor's questions during checkups. She is a model resident, cooperative, uncomplaining, but inside, she retreats further. The promised weekend visit from Karen and the grandchildren never materializes. There's always an excuse. Chloe's dance competition, Liam's baseball game, Karen's work emergency. The few phone calls grow shorter, less frequent. It's during her third week at St. Gabriel's that the incident occurs. Jessica is wheeling herself back to her room after lunch. To reach the east wing from the dining hall, residents must pass through a connecting corridor that runs alongside the dog wing. Usually, she passes without incident, perhaps pausing briefly to watch the activity through the glass. But today, the door to the dog wing stands propped open. A volunteer is guiding a small group of residents inside for a scheduled therapy session with the gentlest dogs. Mrs. Hayes. The volunteer, Ethan, she recalls, waves to her. "Would you like to join us? We're introducing some residents to our new therapy puppy, Daisy." Through the door, she can see 4 other residents already seated in a semicircle. In the center, a young woman holds a squirming golden retriever puppy. She's only 12 weeks old, Ethan explains, but she's already showing great therapy potential. Very calm, very people-oriented. All right, she agrees, wheeling forward. Great! Ethan holds the door wider. We're just going halfway down the corridor where the play area is set up. Jessica follows the small group, her wheels quiet on the rubberized flooring of the dog wing. The play area is a small room off the main corridor. Large windows allow staff to monitor interactions. Inside, chairs are arranged around a rubber mat where the puppy now tumbles about, eliciting chuckles from the residents. Jessica positions her wheelchair in the circle. The puppy, Daisy, immediately notices the newcomer and bounds over, paws scrabbling at the footrest of the wheelchair. She's friendly, the young handler says. Would you like to hold her, Mrs. Hayes? Jessica nods. Daisy immediately begins licking her hand, tail whipping back and forth. The simple, uncomplicated affection brings a smile to Jessica's face, the first genuine one since her arrival. She likes you, Ethan observes. Dogs always have, Jessica says softly. We had several when my son was growing up. A retriever mix named Butterscotch was his favorite. This small personal detail, the first she's voluntarily shared, seems to please Ethan. Did you have any special tricks you taught them? David, my son, taught Butterscotch to bring him the newspaper every morning. I used to bake homemade dog biscuits for her. The memory warms her. For a moment, she's back in her kitchen, David laughing as Butterscotch performs her tricks for a treat. The therapy session continues for 30 minutes. Jessica relaxes visibly as she interacts with the puppy, answering questions, even joining in the light conversation with other residents. When the session ends, residents begin to file out, wheeled or walking slowly back toward the east wing. Jessica lingers, reluctant to return to her solitary routine. Would you like to see a little more of the dog wing before heading back? Ethan offers. I would, Jessica admits. Ethan walks beside her wheelchair as she moves deeper into the dog wing, away from the exit. He narrates as they go. Most of our dogs are owner surrenders or strays, he explains. We try to rehabilitate and rehome as many as possible. Some, especially the older ones or those with medical needs, become permanent residents, and a select few become therapy dogs for our senior program. They pass kennel after kennel, a 3-legged beagle, a one-eyed poodle mix, an ancient basset hound snoring on an orthopedic bed. You give them such good care. We believe every life has value, Ethan says. They're nearing the end of the corridor now, approaching the last kennel, the one set apart from the others. Chief's Kennel. A large red sign on the door reads, Caution, do not approach, staff only. We should head back, Ethan says. That last kennel isn't part of the tour, but Jessica has already stopped, gazing through the bars. Inside, a massive German shepherd lies on a bed, head on paws, watching them with intense amber eyes. The muscled body tenses as they linger, a low rumble beginning in the broad chest. That's Chief, isn't it? Jessica asks. Yes, Ethan confirms. What happened to him? A failed mission, from what I understand. His handler retired early, and Chief couldn't adjust to a new partner. Became aggressive. The department tried rehoming him to his former handler, but he trails off. But the handler couldn't handle him either. Said Chief wasn't the same dog anymore. Too unpredictable. Ethan takes the handles of Jessica's wheelchair, gently beginning to turn her away. We should go. The movement triggers Chief. He lunges forward with shocking speed, slamming against the bars of his kennel, teeth bared, a terrifying snarl ripping from his throat. The force and violence of it make Ethan jump back, nearly losing his grip on Jessica's wheelchair. Jesus, he gasps. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Hayes. But Jessica doesn't move. Even as Chief continues his aggressive display, barking and growling, she remains still, studying him. Mrs. Hayes, please. Ethan insists, alarmed. Has he always been this way? Jessica asks, ignoring his concern. Yes. We have to feed him with extension tools. Even our most experienced handlers can't get near him. Jessica tilts her head. How long has he been here? About 8 months. He was transferred to us after 3 other shelters couldn't handle him. We have more experience with difficult cases. And what happens if he doesn't improve? Ethan's silence is answer enough. I see, she says softly. Then, before Ethan can stop her, she wheels herself a foot closer to the kennel. Mrs. Hayes, it's all right, she says. Chief's barking intensifies, his powerful body slamming repeatedly against the bars. Hello, Chief, Jessica says. That's quite a performance. The German Shepherd freezes mid-bark, his ears pricking forward. My goodness. You're a large one, aren't you? She continues conversationally. Chief takes a step back from the bars, head tilting in evident confusion. The barking stops. A low growl remains, but it's softer, more uncertain. He never does that. Never stops once he starts. Perhaps he just needed someone to talk to him properly, Jessica suggests. Dogs know when they're being feared. They can sense it. Even so, we really should go, Ethan insists. This is unusual, but not safe. Reluctantly, Jessica allows him to wheel her away. A peculiar feeling settles in her chest, something like déjà vu. That night, Jessica dreams. She's actually standing, in a sun-dappled courtyard. Police cars gleam in the parking lot beyond. Uniformed officers mill about, accepting pastries from a large box she holds. David is there, younger, in his administrative uniform, smiling proudly as he introduces her to his colleagues. Mom makes the best cinnamon rolls in 3 counties. The officers agree enthusiastically. Between bites, one of them, a burly man with a handlebar mustache, gestures toward a fenced training area. The K9 unit's running drills if you want to watch, he offers. New recruits, both human and canine. David grins. Mom loves dogs. She'd probably like that. They make their way to the training area. Half a dozen officers work with their German Shepherd partners, practicing commands, obstacles, search techniques. One dog in particular catches Jessica's attention. Younger than the others, but focused, powerful, moving with precision. That's Jensen with his new partner, Chief, the mustachioed officer explains. Youngest K9 in the unit, but showing real promise. Smart as a whip. He's beautiful, Jessica says, watching the dog clear a 6-foot wall with ease. After the demonstration, the officers allow her to meet some of the dogs. Most are serious, alert, clearly on duty, even during a break, but when Chief approaches with his handler, there's a different energy about him. Intense, yes, but with a playful intelligence in his amber eyes. He's still learning when to be on duty and when to relax. Officer Jensen laughs as Chief sits obediently. May I? She asks. Sure, he's friendly. Just in training, he's all business. Jessica offers her palm. Chief sniffs thoroughly, then gives her fingers a quick lick. What a gentleman, she laughs. May I give him a treat? I brought some homemade dog biscuits. All natural ingredients. Jensen nods, and Jessica offers the biscuit. Chief takes it delicately from her fingers. He likes you, Jensen observes. Dogs know dog people. Jessica smiles, scratching behind Chief's ears. Don't you handsome? Chief leans into her touch, and for a moment their eyes meet, amber to blue. Something passes between them. Recognition, connection. David laughs. Mom, I think you've made a friend for life. Jessica wakes with a gasp, the dream still vivid. Not a dream, a memory. A real memory from years ago, before her stroke, before David's death. Could it be the same dog? After all these years? She fumbles for her phone, checking the time. 3 a.m. Too early to seek answers. She lies back, heart racing with the implications. If it is the same Chief, and the timing could work out, then his reaction to her might not have been aggression, but recognition. The next morning, Jessica can barely focus on breakfast. The possible connection to Chief occupies her thoughts completely. She needs to confirm if her memory is correct. If the dangerous dog in the last kennel is the same one who once gently took a biscuit from her hand, as soon as breakfast ends, she wheels herself toward the administrative offices. Rosa is at her desk, reviewing documents. Mrs. Hayes. She greets, looking up. What can I do for you this morning? I have a question about one of the dogs. Jessica begins. The German Shepherd Chief. Was he formerly with the City Police K9 unit? Yes, actually. How did you know that? I think I may have met him years ago, Jessica explains. At a police department open house. My son worked there as an administrator. Really? Rosa seems intrigued. That would have been quite some time ago. Chief was with the department for 7 years before his, issues began. My son's name was David Hayes. He worked in the administrative office for nearly 15 years before he passed away last year. Rosa types something into her computer, presumably accessing Chief's records. Hayes. Yes, that matches our information. Chief came to us from the City Police Department. His handler was Officer Mark Jensen, who retired after an injury. The department contact person listed was David Hayes, administrative manager. She looks up, eyes widening. Your son was the department contact for Chief's case? I remember meeting Chief at an event. He was young then, newly trained, friendly. That's remarkable. He's anything but friendly now, I'm afraid. Whatever happened during his last deployment changed him drastically. She hesitates before adding, Mark Jensen, Chief's handler, he tried to keep Chief after retiring, but couldn't manage him. Said the dog had become unrecognizable in temperament. May I see him again? Jessica asks. Properly this time, not just passing by his kennel. Mrs. Hayes, Rosa begins cautiously. Chief is considered dangerous. We keep him isolated for good reason. Yesterday's incident with Ethan was unusual. Jessica finishes. He stopped barking when I spoke to him. Didn't you find that strange? It was noted in the incident report. Yes, but one anomalous reaction doesn't mean he's safe. I'm not asking to enter his kennel, Jessica clarifies. Just to sit near it, to talk to him. Perhaps if he remembers me from before, it might help somehow. This is highly irregular, Rosa says. Let me consult with our veterinary behavior. East Chief's case has been challenging, and we're running out of options for him. If there's any possibility of a breakthrough. She trails off, then nods decisively. Come back after lunch. I'll arrange a supervised visit. At 2 o'clock, Jessica arrives at the entrance to the dog wing, where Rosa waits with Ethan and an older man in a white coat. Dr. Brennan, the veterinary behaviory seat Mrs. Hayes. Dr. Brennan greets her. Rosa has explained your unusual connection to Chief. I must be frank, I'm skeptical, but intrigued. Dogs do form long-term memories, particularly of people who made a strong positive or negative impression. However, Chief's issues stem from a traumatic experience that seems to have overwritten his previous training and socialization. I understand, Jessica says. We'll proceed with extreme caution. You'll remain at a safe distance from the kennel. If Chief shows any escalating aggressive behaviors, we end the session immediately. Are these terms acceptable? Yes. Good. Ethan will position your wheelchair and will observe from several feet back. As they approach Chief's kennel, a low growl emanates from inside. The German Shepherd stands rigid at the back of his enclosure, hackles raised, amber eyes fixed on the approaching group. Standard response. Dr. Brennan murmurs. He perceives any approach as a threat. Ethan positions Jessica's wheelchair about 10 feet from the kennel bars, then retreats as instructed. Rosa, Ethan, and Dr. Brennan stand well back, watching intently. Chief's growling intensifies. He takes a step forward, teeth visible in a warning snarl. Jessica sits quietly for a moment, simply observing him. Hello again, Chief, she finally says, her voice calm and clear. Do you remember me? The growling continues, but Chief tilts his head slightly. I remember you, Jessica continues. You were younger, less gray on your muzzle. You took a biscuit from my hand so gently. Your handler was proud of your manners. At the mention of a handler, Chief's ears twitch. The growling softens fractionally. My son worked at the station. David Hayes. Administrative office. He admired the K9 officers. Said they were the real heroes. Chief takes a half step forward, still growling but with less conviction. I used to bake special biscuits for the K9 unit, peanut butter and carrot. No artificial ingredients. The change is subtle but unmistakable. Chief's posture shifts, not relaxed, but less threatening. Dr. Brennan whisper, fascinating. His body language is showing conflicted signals. Jessica continues talking, her voice a gentle stream of memory and observation. She describes the police station, the training yard, Officer Jensen demonstrating commands. With each passing minute, Chief's aggressive display diminishes further. After 15 minutes of this one-sided conversation, Jessica falls silent. She and Chief regard each other across the intervening space. Then, astonishingly, Chief lies down. Not fully relaxed, his head remains up, ears alert, but no longer standing in aggressive readiness. "I've never seen him do that with a human present," Ethan whispers. Dr. Brennan makes more notes. "This is significant. He's showing deference, or at least diminished threat assessment." Jessica doesn't respond to them. Her focus remains entirely on Chief. "You've had a hard time, haven't you?" she says. "Something happened, something that hurt you deeply. I understand that, Chief. I do." The German shepherd's ears prick forward. Things change. People leave us. The world becomes unrecognizable. I know about that too. "Mrs. Hayes," Dr. Brennan says quietly, "would you be willing to come back tomorrow? I'd like to observe this interaction over multiple sessions." Jessica nods, her eyes never leaving Chief's. "I'll come back, I promise." Over the next 2 weeks, Jessica visits Chief daily. Each session follows a similar pattern: initial wariness from Chief, followed by gradual relaxation as Jessica talks. Chief never approaches the front of the kennel while she's present, maintaining a cautious distance, but the growling stops entirely after the 3rd visit. By the 7th visit, he lies down almost immediately when she arrives, watching her with steady amber eyes. Dr. Brennan is fascinated. He's responding to her voice specifically, he tells Rosa. "We tested this by having Ethan sit in the same position and speak in the same tone." Chief reverted to aggression instantly. Something about Mrs. Hayes triggers a different neural pathway. "Is it possible he actually remembers her?" Rosa asks. Dogs do form long-term memories, particularly emotional ones. If their brief encounter years ago was positive, and if her son continued to carry her scent to the station afterward, it's possible. Unlikely, but possible. Meanwhile, Jessica's daily routine shifts to center around these visits. Morning activities, lunch, then Chief. The other residents notice her new purpose, her increased engagement. "You seem different lately," Walter comments. "Less ghost-like. What changed?" "I made a friend," Jessica replies. "A friend? Here? Among us discarded elders?" "Not exactly. In the dog wing." "Ah. The 4-legged residents. Less complicated than the 2-legged variety, I imagine." "Sometimes," Jessica agrees. Devi joins them. "Jessica has been visiting that police dog," she explains to Walter. "The dangerous one at the end. The staff is quite amazed. Apparently she's the only one he doesn't try to bite." "The German shepherd? The one they feed with a 10-foot pole? That's your friend?" "He's not what he seems. He's wounded, not wicked." Wounded, not wicked. A fine distinction that applies to many of us, I suspect. His sardonic tone doesn't quite hide his genuine interest. "And what do you do with this fearsome beast?" "I talk to him," Jessica says. "Mostly I talk and he listens." "About what?" "Everything. Nothing. My life before, David, the bakery, my house." Her expression clouds momentarily. "Things I can't talk about with people." "Your family situation?" Devi asks gently. "Karen, my daughter-in-law, keeps asking about selling my house or taking a reverse mortgage for my care," she says. "But you don't believe her?" "I don't know what to believe anymore," Jessica admits. She promised to visit, to bring the grandchildren. It's been almost a month. "Ah," Walter says. "Have you considered speaking with a social worker?" Devi suggests. Jessica shakes her head. "What would I say? That my daughter-in-law lied about this being temporary? That I suspect she wants my property? I have no proof of anything." "Perhaps not," Walter says, "but you have rights. And friends now, whether you wanted them or not." The conversation shifts to other topics, but Jessica feels something shift within her. A small crack in the wall she's built around her pain. For the first time, she verbalized her suspicions about Karen's intentions. For the first time, she's admitted to feeling betrayed. That afternoon, during her session with Chief, Jessica finds herself telling him about her house. It's a craftsman style. Nothing grand, but solid. Beautiful woodwork inside. David learned to walk there, holding onto the stair railings. Later, he helped me plant the garden, peonies, and daylilies along the fence. His height marks are still penciled on the kitchen doorframe. Chief lies near the front of his kennel now, closer than he's ever positioned himself during her visits. Karen wants to sell it, or mortgage it. She says it's for my care, but Jessica's voice catches. I don't believe her anymore. I think she wants the money. I think she never intended for me to go home again. The admission, spoken aloud for the first time with such clarity, brings unexpected tears. They slide down her cheeks unchecked. I'm sorry, she whispers, wiping them away. To her astonishment, Chief whines, a high, concerned sound, and inches closer to the bars. It's all right, she assures him. Chief settles on his belly, front paws extended toward her, head low, a posture of concern, of comfort offered the only way he can. The breakthrough happens in the most unexpected way. 3 days later, Jessica arrives for her usual session with Chief. Dr. Brennan is absent, called away for an emergency at another facility. Only Ethan supervises today, standing at his usual distance. Jessica begins, as always, talking softly about mundane things, the weather, the book she's reading, the improving strength in her right hand from physical therapy. Chief lies near the front of his kennel, watching her with calm attention. Halfway through the session, the corridor door bangs open. Both Jessica and Chief startle at the sudden noise. A man enters, broad-shouldered, in his 50s. He wears civilian clothes, but his bearing screams law enforcement. Sorry to interrupt, he says. I'm Mark Jensen. I was told you wanted to see me. Ethan steps forward. Officer Jensen, we weren't expecting you until tomorrow. Mark, the man corrects. Not an officer anymore. And my schedule opened up. His gaze shifts to Jessica, curious. You're Mrs. Hayes? Before she can answer, a sound interrupts. A high whine from Chief's kennel. The German shepherd is on his feet, ears pricked forward, body tense but not aggressive. Jesus. Jensen breathes, staring at the dog. He's not trying to tear through the bars. That's new. Mrs. Hayes has been working with him, Ethan explains. Dr. Brennan called you because we've seen significant behavioral changes. Jensen approaches cautiously. Chief, he says, his voice a complicated mixture of authority and sorrow. Hey, buddy. Chief's tail gives a single, uncertain wag. He hasn't responded to me like that since. Since before. Before what? Jessica asks. Jensen turns to her. Before the warehouse incident. Before everything went to hell. He studies her face. They said you might have met Chief years ago? At a department event? Yes, Jessica confirms. My son was David Hayes. He worked in administration. Dave Hayes. Good man. Organized the K9 fund drive every year. Jensen stops. He passed last year, right? Car accident? Yes. October. I'm sorry. The department felt that loss. Dave was well respected. Thank you, Jessica says softly. Jensen's gaze returns to Chief. Chief was a different dog back when you would have met him. Best partner I ever had. Smart, brave, stable. His voice roughens. Until the warehouse. What happened? Jessica asks. Hostage situation. Armed suspects. 2 young children held inside. Intelligence said they were in the back office. Chief and I went in first. He was trained to locate victims, to clear a path. He stops, lost in the memory. The intelligence was wrong. The children were in the main area, not the office. When Chief found them, one suspect opened fire. Chief took him down. But not before. Jensen swallows hard. Not before one of the children was hit. A 6-year-old boy. Chief did everything right, but the boy didn't make it. Oh my God. After that, Chief changed. Became aggressive, unpredictable. They said it was the gunfire, the trauma of the raid. But I think, Jensen shakes his head, I think he knew. Dogs understand death. I think he blamed himself for not being fast enough, for not saving that kid. As if understanding the conversation, Chief whines again, a sound of pure distress. I tried to keep him after I retired, Jensen continues, but he wasn't the same dog. Wouldn't let anyone near him, including me most days. Snapped at my wife. Almost bit my son. I couldn't help him. You were both wounded by the same event. Sometimes wounds make it impossible to help each other heal. Maybe so, he turns back to Chief. But seeing him now, responding to you, not trying to attack, it's the first hope I've had for him in a long time. I just talked to him, Jessica explains, about ordinary things. Life, loss, change. Things he understands. Jensen nods. When did the warehouse incident happen? Last September, Jensen answers. Why? A month before David's accident, Jessica muses. Both traumatized in the same season. Jensen's brow furrows. You think there's a connection? Not directly, but perhaps it explains why Chief responds to me. We both lost something fundamental to our identities at the same time. Him, his purpose and confidence. Me, my son, and my independence. Grief, recognizing grief. He looks at Chief again, watching them with calmer eyes. The session continues, with Jensen sharing stories about Chief's career, the successful searches, the lives saved, the medals earned. With each story, Chief's body language relaxes further, as if the positive memories are being reactivated in his mind. When the time ends, Jensen turns to Jessica. Would it be all right if I came back to join these sessions? I'd like to. Try again. With him. Of course, as Ethan wheels her away, she glances back to see Jensen still standing near the kennel, speaking softly to Chief. The next afternoon, Jessica receives an unexpected phone call. Karen's name appears on her screen for the first time in 10 days. Jessica? It's Karen. Hello, Karen. I've been meaning to call. Things have been so hectic with the kids' activities. Of course, I wanted to let you know we'll be visiting this weekend, Saturday afternoon. The kids are looking forward to seeing you. That's wonderful. I've missed them. Great. And, I have those mortgage papers we discussed. Nothing to sign yet, just some options to review together. I see. The financial advisor says the sooner we start the process, the better. The housing market's strong right now. Yes, you mentioned that before. Well, we'll see you Saturday. Then, around 2? I'll be here, Jessica says. After the call ends, Jessica sits quietly, processing. For a month, she's received nothing but brief calls and broken promises. Now, suddenly, a visit, with mortgage papers in tow. The timing feels significant. She wheels herself to Rosa's office, knocking on the open door. Mrs. Hayes. Rosa greets her warmly. What can I do for you? My daughter-in-law is visiting on Saturday, Jessica begins. With paperwork about my house. I'm concerned about her intentions. What kind of concerns? She wants me to sign paperwork for a reverse mortgage, or possibly to sell the house entirely. For my care, she says, but I never authorized this. Has she pressured you about this before? Every phone call. And now, suddenly she's visiting, the first time in a month, with papers in hand. I see. Rosa opens a drawer, withdrawing a business card. Mrs. Hayes. St. Gabriel's works with a legal aid service specializing in elder concerns. This is Angela Rivera's card. She's an attorney who could advise you on your property rights and options. Thank you. Would you like me to call her to explain your situation? Jessica hesitates, then nods. Yes, please do. As she wheels herself back to her room, Jessica feels a strange mixture of dread and determination. The dread of confrontation with the woman who was once family, the determination to protect what's rightfully hers. Saturday arrives with ominous skies. Dark clouds roll in from the west, promising a significant storm by evening. The barometric pressure drops, making joints ache. A chorus of complaints rises from the elderly residents at Breakfast.Knees, acting up something fierce. Walter grumbles. Storm coming. Devi agrees, her usually perfect posture slightly hunched against her own discomfort. Jessica barely hears them. Her thoughts circle restlessly around the upcoming visit. After breakfast, she spends extra time dressing, choosing her nicest blouse, applying a touch of lipstick, styling her thin hair as best she can. At noon, Angela Rivera arrives, a sharp-featured woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense demeanor and a sleek briefcase. Mrs. Hayes, she begins, arranging documents on the table between them. "Rosa has briefed me on your concerns. I'd like to understand the situation from your perspective before your family arrives." For the next hour, Jessica details everything: her stroke, David's death, the gradual shift in Karen's behavior, the promises of a temporary stay, the increasing pressure about the house. "The property is entirely in your name?" "Yes, it was my parents' home. I inherited it, raised David there as a single mother after his father died. When I moved above my bakery, I rented it out. After my stroke, the tenants moved out, and I moved back in with David and Karen's family." "And you've signed no paperwork regarding the house since your stroke? No power of attorney documents? No transfer of title?" "Nothing," Jessica confirms. "Mrs. Hayes, without your signature, your daughter-in-law has no legal right to sell or mortgage your property. If she's taken steps toward doing so, we may be looking at attempted fraud." "What should I do today?" she asks, swallowing hard. "First, do not sign anything," Rivera emphasizes, no matter what pressure she applies. "Second, with your permission, I'd like to be present for this meeting, not introduced as your attorney initially, perhaps as a social worker or advocate. I want to observe the interaction naturally." "Yes, I'd like that." "Good. And third, if she's brought paperwork, I want to review it." Rivera's expression softens slightly. "Mrs. Hayes, I specialize in elder protection cases. What you're describing, isolation from grandchildren, pressure regarding assets, misrepresentation about care arrangements, these are red flags for financial exploitation. I never thought Karen would," she begins, then stops. "We were family. Unfortunately, family dynamics often complicate these situations," Rivera says. "I want to protect what's mine, for my grandchildren's future, if nothing else." At 2 o'clock, Karen arrives with Chloe and Liam in tow. They're shown to the visitors' lounge where Jessica waits, positioned by the window. Angela Rivera sits unobtrusively in a corner, introduced simply as Miss Rivera, a resident advocate who assists with family meetings. Chloe rushes forward first, bending to hug Jessica. "Grandma, I've missed you." The genuine affection in her granddaughter's embrace brings tears to Jessica's eyes. "I've missed you too, sweetheart. So much." Liam approaches next. "Hey, Grandma." "Hello, Liam. How was the baseball championship?" He brightens. "We won. I pitched the last 3 innings. That's wonderful. I wish I could have seen it." "Yeah. Sorry we couldn't visit sooner. Mom said you were settling in, and visitors might be disruptive." Jessica's eyes flick to Karen, who busies herself arranging items from her large handbag on a side table, pretending not to hear this revealing comment. "Well, I'm settled now," Jessica says. The conversation continues with the grandchildren sharing school updates, activities, friend dramas. After 20 minutes, Karen interjects smoothly. "Kids, why don't you check out the garden? I saw a sign in the lobby about a koi pond. Give Grandma and me a chance to discuss some boring adult business." "But we just got here. It'll just take a few minutes," Karen insists. "Then you can come back and visit more before we have to leave." Reluctantly, the teenagers depart, leaving Jessica with Karen and silently observing Rivera. "They look well," Jessica comments. "They are. Busy as always." Karen smiles, the expression not reaching her eyes. "Now, about those financial matters we discussed." She withdraws a folder from her bag, opening it to reveal official-looking documents with post-it notes marking signature lines. "I've been working with Financial Horizons. They specialize in senior equity release programs. Given the value of your house and the current market, we're looking at a substantial sum that could secure your care for years to come." "I thought St. Gabriel's was temporary. Just a few weeks," you said. "Well, yes, that was the hope. But the staff here have mentioned how well you're adapting, and frankly, the level of care you need." She gestures vaguely toward Jessica's wheelchair. "It's specialized. More than we can provide at home." "I see." Jessica keeps her voice steady. "And these papers? They're for a reverse mortgage?" "Yes, with Financial Horizons managing the process. They've been wonderful to work with. Everything's prepared. We just need your signature on these marked pages." Karen slides the folder across to Jessica. The funds would go into a trust for your care. I'd manage it as your financial proxy." "My financial proxy?" Jessica echoes. "It's all explained in the Power of Attorney document, page 3. Standard procedure when setting up these arrangements." From her corner, Rivera shifts slightly, making a note on her pad. "And who suggested this arrangement?" Jessica asks. "Financial Horizons?" "Well, I did some research," Karen answers, "after consulting with the social worker here." "Which social worker?" Jessica presses. "I don't recall the name." "One of the intake staff. St. Gabriel's hasn't recommended any financial actions regarding my property," Jessica states, knowing this is true from her conversations with Rosa. "And I haven't authorized anyone to make inquiries on my behalf." "Jessica, I'm trying to help. Your care isn't free, even at a charity facility like this. There are supplemental costs, medications, personal items. My Social Security and pension cover those expenses," Jessica interrupts. Rosa confirmed that last week, for basic care. "Yes," Karen counters, "but what about extras? Physical therapy equipment for home use, specialized transportation, a better quality of life than juiced. Existing here?" "Karen," Jessica says quietly, "why are you really pursuing this? What do you mean?" "I'm looking out for your interests." "Are you? Or are you looking to access the equity in my house? That's unfair. After everything I've done for you, let me be direct," Jessica interrupts, a newfound steadiness in her voice. "I am not signing over my house or taking a reverse mortgage. The property will remain as is, in my name, unencumbered." "You're being unreasonable," Karen snaps. "That house is sitting empty, a financial resource going to waste while you're here indefinitely. If David were alive, Jessica cuts in, "I wouldn't be sitting in this facility in the first place." Rivera chooses this moment to speak up. "Mrs. Hayes, do you mind if I ask a question?" Karen's head swivels toward the previously silent observer. "Who are you again?" "Angela Rivera, resident advocate." She doesn't elaborate further. "Mrs. Hayes, has anyone else reviewed these documents?" "No," Jessica answers. "Then, perhaps before any decisions are made, a legal review would be appropriate? St. Gabriel's can provide referrals to elder law specialists who could ensure your interests are protected." "That won't be necessary. These are standard documents from a reputable company." "Even so," Rivera continues mildly, "when significant assets are involved, independent review is always advisable." "Are you a lawyer?" Karen demands. "Among other things, this has been a waste of time. Jessica, I was trying to help you secure your future. If you want to be difficult about it—" "I'm not being difficult," Jessica interrupts. "I'm exercising my right to make my own financial decisions." "Fine. Have it your way." Karen stuffs the papers back into her bag. "I'll let the kids know we're leaving. You just got here," Jessica protests. "And I have a meeting with the realtor at 4, Karen retorts without thinking. "The realtor?" Jessica repeats. "For what property?" "A friend's condo. I'm helping them stage it for sale." But the lie is transparent, hanging awkwardly between them. "I'd like to see my grandchildren before you go," Jessica says. "I'll get them." "When?" "She's gone." Rivera leans forward. "Mrs. Hayes, I heard enough to confirm your suspicions. She's taken steps towards selling your property, possibly using fraudulent documentation. Her reaction when challenged is very telling. What do we do now? With your permission, I'll file for an emergency injunction to prevent any transactions involving your property, then conduct a title search to ensure nothing has already been done without your knowledge. We should also formally document your competency to make financial decisions, a standard evaluation that will strengthen your position." "Yes to all of it," Jessica agrees. "And my grandchildren? Family court could potentially establish visitation rights, but that's a separate legal action. Let's secure your property first, then discuss options for maintaining contact with your grandchildren." Karen returns with Chloe and Liam. "Kids, say goodbye to Grandma. We need to go." "Already?" Chloe protests. "But now, Chloe—" Karen snaps. Confusion and hurt flash across Chloe's face. She bends to hug Jessica again, whispering, "I'll call you, I promise." Liam gives an awkward wave. "Bye, Grandma. Maybe next time I can show you videos from the championship." "I'd love that." Jessica says. When they're gone, Jessica closes her eyes briefly, absorbing what's just happened. The confrontation, though painful, has brought clarity, and with clarity, determination. "I'd like to file whatever paperwork is needed," she tells Rivera. "We can start immediately," Rivera assures her. "I'll contact the county clerk's office about an emergency filing for Monday morning." After Rivera leaves to make calls, Jessica sits alone in the visitor's lounge, watching storm clouds gather on the horizon. She thinks of Chief, transformed from a celebrated protector to a feared outcast by trauma, finding his way back through connection and recognition. Perhaps she too is finding her way back, reclaiming her voice, her agency. Jessica wheels herself from the visitor's lounge toward the dog wing, drawn by some instinct she can't quite name. The corridors are quieter than usual, many residents napping or watching television in the common room as the storm approaches. She reaches the glass doors separating the wings just as the first heavy raindrops begin to strike the windows. Through the glass, she sees staff hurrying to secure outdoor equipment, bringing the few dogs that had been in the yard back inside. The dogs sense something. They're barking more insistent now, not just responding to the thunder, but to something else. Something is wrong. Jessica frowns, scanning the area beyond the glass. The overhead lights in the dog wing flicker once, twice, then stabilize. She presses the intercom button by the door. "Ethan, is everything all right?" No response. The dog wing staff must be busy securing the animals before the storm hits in earns. The lights flicker again, longer this time. In the distance, thunder crashes. Closer now. Something nags at the edge of Jessica's awareness. Something about old buildings, electrical systems, storms. Then she remembers, during her intake tour, Rosa had mentioned renovations in progress, the need to update the facility's aging electrical system. "We're doing it wing by wing," she had explained. "The east wing is complete, but the west and connecting sections are scheduled for next quarter." As she watches through the glass, a thin tendril of smoke curls from a junction box near the ceiling at the far end of the corridor. "Oh, God," Jessica breathes, pressing the emergency call button beside the doors repeatedly. "Fire! Fire!" No response comes through the intercom. The storm must be affecting the system. She looks around frantically, but the corridor is empty. Everyone gathered elsewhere as the storm intensified. Jessica can see a small orange glow now, the beginning of flames around the compromised junction box. Chief's kennel. The smoke is directly above Chief's kennel. Jessica doesn't hesitate. She punches the accessibility button that opens the connecting doors, wheeling herself into the dog wing as alarms finally begin to blare. "Help!" she shouts, her voice lost in the cacophony of barking and sirens. The smoke grows denser, making her cough. The fire spreads along ancient wiring, following the path of least resistance through the ceiling. Jessica wheels herself toward Chief's kennel, toward the danger, not away from it. 20 yards, 15, 10. The overhead lights cut out completely, emergency lighting casting everything in an eerie red glow. Through the thickening smoke, she can make out Chief's form, pacing agitatedly in his kennel, hackles raised. "Chief!" She calls, coughing as smoke fills her lungs. "Someone's coming. They'll get you out." But even as she says it, a section of ceiling material crashes down between her and the kennel, flames licking along its edges. Jessica's path forward is blocked. She turns her wheelchair, intending to retreat and find help, but another flaming chunk of material falls, narrowly missing her. She's trapped, flames in front, flames behind. The wheelchair suddenly feels like a cage rather than mobility. Instinctively, she tries to stand, to escape on foot, but her weakened legs buckle instantly. She collapses back into the chair, panic rising. "Help!" she shouts again, more desperate now. "Please, someone!" Through the smoke and confusion, she hears something else, a frantic scrabbling, then a tremendous crash from Chief's direction, the sound of metal giving way. Then, impossibly, through the wall of smoke, a massive form emerges. Chief, somehow free of his kennel, moving toward her with purpose. "Chief," she gasps, unsure if he's coming to help or if his aggressive tendencies have resurged in the chaos. The German Shepherd reaches her wheelchair, amber eyes intense in the emergency lighting. Without hesitation, He grips the arm of her wheelchair in powerful jaws and pulls. "Good boy," Jessica whispers, tears tracking through the soot on her face. Chief pulls with all his strength, but the wheelchair is heavy, unwieldy. Progress is agonizingly slow. The fire spreads around them, consuming ceiling tiles, licking at walls. Jessica coughs violently as smoke fills her lungs. Chief whines, pulling harder, desperate. In the distance, she hears shouting, human voices finally responding to the emergency. But they sound far away, and the flames are close, so close. "Chief," she manages between coughs. "Find help, go." But the German Shepherd refuses to leave her. He changes tactics, moving around to grip the back handles of the wheelchair, pulling backward with even more leverage. The chair begins to move more smoothly. Inch by inch, foot by foot, Chief drags Jessica towards safety, away from the advancing flames. A section of ceiling collapses behind them, exactly where they had been moments before. Jessica's vision begins to blur. Oxygen deprivation, smoke inhalation. The world narrows to the sensation of movement, the sound of Chief's labored breathing as he continues to pull. Then, suddenly, cooler air, different voices, human hands joining Chief's efforts. "Mrs. Hayes, oh my God, Chief is pulling her. Get an oxygen tank, call the paramedics." How did he get out of his kennel? The voices swirl around her as consciousness fades. The last thing Jessica sees is Chief standing protectively beside her wheelchair, refusing to be separated even as emergency personnel swarm around them. Jessica surfaces slowly from unconsciousness, fragments of reality assembling themselves in her awareness. A hospital room, daylight through blinds, an oxygen cannula in her nostrils. "She's waking up," someone nearby says. Jessica turns her head slightly. Rosa sits beside her bed, looking tired but relieved. "Welcome back, Mrs. Hayes," she says warmly. Jessica tries to speak, but her throat burns. Rosa offers her a small cup of water with a straw, supporting her head as she sips carefully. "Chief," Jessica rasps when she can speak. "Where's Chief?" "He's safe. Dr. Brennan and Officer Jensen are with him at the veterinary hospital. He inhaled some smoke, burned his paws, but he's stable. He saved me," Jessica whispers. "Yes, he did," Rosa agrees. "And not just you." His barking alerted staff to the fire before the alarms triggered. Everyone was evacuated safely because of that early warning. His kennel, how did he get out? The fire damaged the locking mechanism. Or maybe he broke it with sheer force, we're not sure yet. But when the staff evacuated the other dogs, he was already free and searching for you. The building? Significant damage to the dog wing, some smoke damage to the connecting areas. The east wing, where the residents' rooms are, was mostly untouched, thanks to the fire breaks installed during the recent renovations. Rosa hesitates. "Your personal belongings are safe. We've moved residents temporarily to the community center while repairs are assessed." Jessica nods. "How long have I been here?" "Just overnight. It's Sunday morning. The doctors want to monitor your lungs for another day, but they're optimistic about your recovery. You're remarkably resilient, Mrs. Hayes." A nurse enters, checking monitors and Jessica's vital signs. "Good to see you awake. Dr. Patel will be here shortly to evaluate your condition." Jessica turns to Rosa. "And Chief? When can I see him?" "As soon as you're both released," Rosa promises. The story has attracted quite a bit of attention, actually. A journalist was at the hospital when they brought Chief in for treatment. Someone took video of the rescue. Chief dragging your wheelchair through the smoke. It's quite dramatic. It's been on the local news, and I'm told it's spreading on social media. Has Karen called? She asks suddenly. Yes, she contacted the hospital this morning. She's listed as your emergency contact, so they informed her of your condition. And? She said she'll try to visit later today, depending on her schedule. Jessica nods. And Miss Rivera, the attorney? She called as well. She asked me to tell you that she filed for an emergency injunction first thing this morning. She'll visit this afternoon if you're up for it. I will be, Jessica confirms. There's work to be done. You know, when you first arrived at St. Gabriel's, I worried about you. You seemed resigned, like you'd given up. I had in many ways. And now, a small smile touches Jessica's lips. Now I have a purpose again, and a friend who believes in me. A very large, furry friend with sharp teeth, Rosa observes with a chuckle. The best kind, Jessica agrees. As promised, Dr. Patel arrives shortly to examine her. The prognosis is good. Smoke inhalation without significant lung damage, mild dehydration, exhaustion. Another day of observation, then release if all remains stable. Throughout the day, well-wishers appear. Walter and Devi, brought by a volunteer from the community center where residents are temporarily housed. Ethan, sporting a bandage on one arm from his efforts fighting the fire. Even Dr. Brennan calls from the veterinary hospital, putting his phone on speaker so Jessica can hear Chief's responsive whine when she speaks. Karen doesn't visit. She calls again, speaking to the nurse, sending best wishes for a speedy recovery without actually speaking to Jessica directly. Angela Rivera arrives in the late afternoon, briefcase in hand, purpose in her stride. Mrs. Hayes, she greets Jessica. "I'm glad to see you recovering well." "Thank you for coming," Jessica replies. "Of course." Rivera settles in the visitor's chair, opening her briefcase. "I have updates. The emergency petition was granted this morning. No transactions involving your property can proceed until a hearing determines your wishes and competency. Good. Additionally, I took the liberty of requesting a title search. The results are concerning." Rivera extracts a document. 2 weeks ago, a quitclaim deed was filed, transferring your property to a joint ownership between yourself and Karen Hayes. "That's impossible. I never signed anything." "Exactly," Rivera confirms. "The signature purporting to be yours appears forged based on preliminary examination. I've filed a criminal complaint with the Police Fraud Division. Karen forged my signature. It appears so. The deed was notarized by someone named James Westfield. We're investigating whether he's a legitimate notary or part of the fraud. Karen mentioned her cousin Jimmy once, a real estate attorney who could help with paperwork." Rivera makes a note. "That's useful information. If the notary knowingly participated in document fraud, that's an additional criminal charge. What happens now? The police will investigate the forgery. Meanwhile, the injunction prevents any sale or mortgage of the property. Once you're released from the hospital, we'll schedule a competency evaluation, a straightforward process that will establish your ability to make your own financial decisions." "And Karen? If the forgery is proven, she'll face criminal charges. Forgery with intent to defraud, particularly against a vulnerable adult, carries significant penalties. She'll claim it was for my benefit," Jessica predicts, "that she was securing funds for my care. That defense rarely succeeds in cases where the victim wasn't consulted or informed," Rivera assures her. After Rivera leaves, Jessica rests, physically exhausted but mentally alert. The television in her hospital room plays the local evening news, and suddenly, there it is, the story of the fire at St. Gabriel's Haven. The reporter's voice narrates. In an extraordinary act of heroism, a retired police K-9 previously designated as dangerous rescued an elderly resident during yesterday's fire at St. Gabriel's Haven. Chief, an 8-year-old German Shepherd, broke free from his kennel and pulled Jessica Hayes to safety as flames engulfed the building's west wing. The camera cuts to Mark Jensen being interviewed outside the veterinary hospital. "Chief was one of the best police dogs I've ever worked with," he says. After a traumatic incident, he struggled with aggression, but Mrs. Hayes somehow broke through to him. "What he did yesterday, that's the real Chief, the hero I always knew he was." Dr. Brennan appears next. "We've been documenting Mrs. Hayes' work with Chief. Their connection is remarkable, two souls who found each other when they needed it." Most Jessica watches in wonder as her private journey with Chief becomes a public narrative. The reporter frames it as an inspiring story of second chances. The dangerous dog no one would approach becoming a life-saving hero. The abandoned elderly woman finding purpose in connecting with him. As the segment ends, the anchor adds, "The story has gone viral on social media, with the rescue video garnering millions of views. A fundraiser for St. Gabriel's Haven's rebuilding efforts has already raised over $50,000 in less than 24 hours." Jessica switches off the television, overwhelmed by this unexpected turn of events. She wonders what Karen thinks, seeing this story spread across local news and social media. The irony isn't lost on Jessica. Her deepest pain led her to St. Gabriel's, which led her to Chief, which has now led to this moment of unexpected recognition and purpose. 2 days later, Jessica is released from the hospital. Rosa arranges for her transportation to the community center, where St. Gabriel's residents are temporarily housed while repairs to the facility continue. "There's someone waiting very anxiously to see you," Rosa tells her as they travel in the van. "Chief? He was released from the veterinary hospital yesterday. He's been staying with Officer Jensen, who brings him to the community center daily. Apparently, he keeps searching the building for you, whining when he can't find your scent. I've missed him too." The community center comes into view, a modern building with a large parking lot already filled with vehicles. As they pull closer, Jessica notices news vans with satellite dishes, reporters with microphones. What's all this? The story has gained traction. National outlets picked it up after the local coverage. Aggressive police dog saves abandoned grandmother is apparently very compelling news. We've been trying to manage the media interest, but I'm not sure I want this attention. You don't have to speak to any reporters, Rosa assures her. We can use the side entrance, avoiding the whole circus. No. If they're going to tell this story, they should get it right, but I'd like to see Chief first, privately. Of course, Rosa agrees. The van circles to a staff entrance at the rear of the building. 2 security guards ensure their unimpeded access. Inside, the community center has been transformed. Temporary room dividers creating private spaces for residents. Common areas organized with familiar furniture from St. Gabriel's. Staff working to maintain routines despite the displacement. Rosa guides Jessica to a quiet room. "Wait here. I'll get Chief and Officer Jensen." The door opens. Mark Jensen enters first, leading Chief on a leash. The German Shepherd's ears prick forward, his entire body tensing as he spots Jessica. "Chief, go on, buddy. Go say hello." When he reaches her wheelchair, he rests his massive head gently on her lap, a soft whine escaping him. Jessica's hands tremble as she strokes his ears, his neck, his shoulders. "You saved my life," she whispers. Jensen watches from the doorway, visibly moved. "I've never seen him like this with anyone. Not since before the warehouse." "We understand each other," Jessica says, continuing to stroke Chief's fur. "We both know what it's like to be discarded, to be seen as broken or useless. Neither of you is either of those things," Jensen says firmly. "No," Jessica agrees, meeting Chief's eyes as the dog gazes up at her. The moment stretches, peaceful and healing, until Rosa returns with news. "The media is getting restless," she informs them. "If you're willing to make a brief statement, Mrs. Hayes, it might satisfy them enough to give us some space afterward." Jessica sighs. "I suppose we should get it over with." "You don't have to," Jensen reminds her. "I know, but there's power in telling your own story, isn't there? Chief and I will be right beside you." The impromptu press conference is arranged in the community center's main lobby. Jessica positions her wheelchair with Chief sitting calmly beside her, Jensen standing protectively near both of them. Camera lights flash. Microphones extend toward them. Reporters call questions over one another. Rosa steps forward first. "Mrs. Hayes will make a brief statement about recent events. She's still recovering, so please respect her health and limits. 1 or 2 questions afterward. That's all." "My name is Jessica Hayes," she begins, her voice stronger than she expected. 4 days ago, I was trapped in a fire at St. Gabriel's Haven. Chief," she rests her hand on the German Shepherd's head, "broke free from his kennel and pulled me to safety. Without him, I wouldn't be here today. Some of you have framed this as an extraordinary story, the aggressive dog saving the abandoned grandmother. It makes a tidy narrative, but real life is more complicated than headlines." Chief leans against her wheelchair, a solid, comforting presence. Chief was never simply aggressive. He was traumatized, a decorated police K9 who experienced something terrible and couldn't process it. Everyone gave up on him because they couldn't see past the trauma to the loyal, brave dog underneath. Jessica's voice grows more confident as she continues, and I was never simply abandoned. I am a stroke, survivor, a widow, a mother who lost her only son. My circumstances led me to St. Gabriel's Haven during a difficult time for my family. What happened between Chief and me wasn't miraculous. It was recognition. Two souls who had experienced loss, who others had written off, finding understanding in each other. His rescue wasn't surprising to me. It was exactly who he's always been. Loyal, protective, brave. Chief gazes up at her adoringly, as if understanding every word. Don't define people or animals by their worst moments or their limitations. The woman in the wheelchair isn't helpless. The dog with the aggressive label isn't dangerous. We are all so much more complex than the boxes others put us in. A respectful silence follows her words. Then a reporter raises his hand. Mrs. Hayes, what happens to Chief now? Will he remain at the shelter? Jessica looks to Jensen, who steps forward to answer. Chief will not be returning to the shelter system. I've officially adopted him. A decision made before the fire. Actually, he'll be living with me, returning to the home he knew before his trauma. And you, Mrs. Hayes, will you return to St. Gabriel's once repairs are complete? Yes, St. Gabriel's is my home now, my community, and I'll continue working with their animal therapy program. Chief might not be there full-time anymore, but Officer Jensen has promised regular visits. One more question, Rosa interjects, seeing Jessica's energy flagging. A woman in the back raises her hand. There are rumors that this incident has led to a legal dispute with your daughter-in-law regarding your property. Can you comment on that? I prefer not to discuss private family matters, she says. But I will say this. At 68, I am fully capable of managing my own affairs and making my own decisions. Sometimes, the greatest challenge after a health setback isn't the physical recovery, but reclaiming your voice and agency. Chief helped me find mine again. Rosa steps forward. That's all for today. Thank you for your interest in this story. But Mrs. Hayes needs rest, and our residents need to return to their routines. You did wonderfully, Jensen tells her. Dignified and honest thank you, Jessica says, for everything, for bringing Chief back into my life. I think it's the other way around, Jensen replies. You brought him back to himself, to us. Jessica undergoes her competency evaluation, a straightforward process with a geriatric specialist who declares her sharp as a tack and fully capable of managing her affairs. St. Gabriel's Haven begins repairs, the process accelerated by the flood of donations triggered by Chief's rescue story. Structural work on the dog wing will take months, but the residential areas should be habitable within weeks. Chief visits daily, brought by Jensen, who has taken leave from his new job to focus on the dog's recovery. The bandages on Chief's paws are removed, revealing healing pink skin. His confidence grows daily. Unexpectedly, Chloe calls Jessica's cell phone one afternoon. Grandma, are you okay? We saw you on the news. I'm fine, sweetheart, Jessica assures her. Just some smoke inhalation, but I'm recovering well. Mom wouldn't bring us to the hospital, Chloe says. She said you needed rest, but Liam and I wanted to come. That dog, Chief, he really saved you? He did. He's a very special animal. That's so amazing. Can we meet him sometime? I'd love that, Jessica says, aware of the complicated family dynamics at play. Does your mother know you're calling? Not exactly. She's been acting weird since everything happened, really tense. She's on the phone with her cousin Jimmy a lot, and she yells when she thinks we can't hear. Chloe, things might be a bit difficult between your mom and me for a while. Adult problems. But I want you to know that I love you and Liam very much, and that will never change. Are you going to come home? After the shelter is fixed, St. Gabriel's will be my home for now, Jessica answers. But I'm working on arrangements so you and Liam can visit regularly, no matter what. I'd like that, Chloe says. I miss your cookies and juiced talking to you. I miss you too, sweetheart. So much. After the call ends, Jessica sits quietly, processing. Despite everything, the connection with her grandchildren remains intact. They haven't forgotten her. They still care. That evening, Angela Rivera visits the community center with news. The police have completed their initial investigation, she informs Jessica. The signature on the quitclaim deed is indeed a forgery, and the notary, James Westfield, Karen's cousin, has admitted under questioning that he knowingly participated in the fraud. And Karen? She's been formally charged with forgery, attempted fraud, and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. She was arrested this morning and released on bail this afternoon. What happens to the children while this proceeds? She asks. They'll remain in her custody unless the court determines otherwise. However, we could petition for guaranteed visitation rights for you, separate from the criminal proceedings. Please do that. The children shouldn't suffer for their mother's actions. I know this is painful, Mrs. Hayes. Family legal matters always are. But you're doing the right thing by protecting yourself and your assets. It's not about the house. Not really, Jessica says. It's about respect, about recognizing that I may be in a wheelchair, may be older, may need help with some things, but I'm still me, still capable of making my own decisions, still worthy of having my wishes honored. That's exactly right, Rivera agrees. A week after the fire, an unexpected visitor arrives at the community center. Jessica is in the common area, participating in a gentle exercise class led by Devi when Walter wheels up beside her. Incoming, he mutters. Former family, at 3 o'clock. Jessica follows his gaze to see Karen standing awkwardly near the entrance, clutching her purse, looking uncharacteristically uncertain. Should I run interference? Walter offers. I can be quite intimidating when I channel my high school principal persona. Jessica smiles. Thank you, but no. I can handle this. She excuses herself from the exercise group and wheels toward Karen. Jessica, Karen greets her. May we speak privately? There's a small meeting room down the hall, Jessica suggests. Inside, with the door closed, the two women face each other across an unbridgeable divide of betrayal and legal proceedings. I suppose you're satisfied, Karen begins. Criminal charges. Possible disbarment for Jimmy. My reputation is in tatters. Jessica studies her daughter-in-law's face. I take no pleasure in any of this, Karen. Then drop the charges. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? You forged my signature on a deed transferring my property to yourself. I was trying to secure your future. The house was sitting empty, depreciating. Please, Jessica interrupts. Let's not do this. Not anymore. We both know what happened. What you intended. I didn't come here to fight with you, Jessica continues. I came to St. Gabriel's because you convinced me it was temporary, the best solution for everyone. I trusted you. After David died, everything fell apart, Karen says. The bills, the mortgage, the kids' college funds, your care. It was too much. I was drowning. You could have told me the truth. We could have found solutions together. What solutions? You can't walk, can't care for yourself fully. The house was the only asset not tied up in David's estate complications. I understand the financial pressures you faced. What I don't understand is the deception, making me promises you never intended to keep, isolating me from my grandchildren, forging documents to take what wasn't yours. Karen has no answer for this. Why are you here, Karen? Jessica asks finally. My lawyer says if you would agree to a settlement, drop the criminal charges in exchange for me relinquishing any claim to the property, it would be better for everyone, for the kids especially. I'll consider it, Jessica says, surprising Karen. Not for your sake, but for Chloe and Liam. They've lost enough without losing their mother to legal consequences as well. But there are conditions, Jessica interrupts. First, regular scheduled visits with my grandchildren, formalized in writing. Second, you will have no involvement whatsoever in my financial affairs going forward. And third, a full, honest apology, not to me, but to Chloe and Liam for involving them in this deception. The kids don't need to know the details of. They're old enough to understand the basics. That you lied about St. Gabriel's being temporary, that you tried to sell property that wasn't yours, that adults sometimes make serious mistakes. Jessica holds Karen's gaze. Karen looks away, conflict evident in her expression. I'll think about it. Do that, Jessica says. And Karen, I loved David with all my heart. I know you did too in your way. Whatever happens between us, we both want what's best for his children. Let's try to remember that going forward. Karen nods once, then rises to leave. At the door, she pauses. That dog, Chief, he really saved you? Yes. When everyone else ran from the fire, he ran toward it. For me. 2 weeks after the fire, St. Gabriel's East Wing was declared safe for residents to return. The dog wing remains under construction, but a temporary shelter has been established in an adjacent building, allowing the animal program to continue. Jessica's room has been cleaned of smoke damage, her belongings arranged as they were before. On her first evening back, a small celebration is held in the common room. Walter, Devi, and the other residents who've become friends, Rosa and the staff, Ethan and Dr. Brennan from the animal program, and Chief, of course, with Mark Jensen. The German shepherd stays close to Jessica's wheelchair, periodically resting his head on her lap, accepting gentle ear scratches. A toast, Walter announces, raising a glass. To Jessica and Chief, who remind us that second acts are possible, that being broken doesn't mean being finished. Here, the group responds, glasses lifting. Later, as the gathering winds down, Rosa approaches Jessica. I have something to discuss with you, if you have a moment. They move to a quiet corner, Chief following faithfully. The board of directors has been considering ways to expand our animal therapy program, given its obvious benefits. Rosa begins. The publicity from Chief's rescue has brought unprecedented donations, and in tier estate, we'd like to establish a more formal training program for therapy. Dogs, with a special focus on matching them with seniors who have specific physical challenges. That sounds wonderful, Jessica says, stroking Chief's ears. We'd like you to help design and oversee the program, Rosa continues. Your work with Chief demonstrated an instinct and patience that can't be taught. Jessica stares in surprise. Me? But I'm not a professional trainer or therapist, no, but you have lived experience that's invaluable. And frankly, your story inspires people. Residents and dogs alike respond to you. Rosa smiles. As Rosa moves away to speak with other guests, Jessica looks down at Chief, who gazes back with those intelligent amber eyes. What do you think? She asks him softly. Chief's tail wags decisively. Jessica laughs. I'll take that as a yes. The evening concludes with Jensen preparing to take Chief home. He'll be back tomorrow, Jensen assures her. Daily visits. And maybe someday, when he's fully recovered and you're settled, the unspoken suggestion hangs between them that perhaps Chief could split his time between Jensen's home and Jessica's room at St. Gabriel's, belonging to both of them in different ways. One step at a time, Jessica says. As she watches them leave, Jessica feels a sense of peace she hasn't experienced since before her stroke, before David's death. Not happiness exactly. The losses are still real. Still painful, but purpose, connection, forward movement. Her phone buzzes with a text message. Chloe, Mom says we can visit this weekend. Can we meet Chief? Jessica smiles, typing back. Absolutely. He's excited to meet you, too. Another text follows quickly. Liam says to tell you he loves you. Me too, Grandma. I love you both, she types. Always and forever. She sets the phone aside, gazing out at the stars again. Whatever comes next, legal resolutions, family healing, new purpose, she'll face it with the strength she's reclaimed, with the dignity she never truly lost, only temporarily mislaid.